Pick it up, pick it up. Yes, please. Yes, we can do this. Nothing. Pick it up, pick it up. Yes, we can do this.
Hello.
Yes, how are you?
Hi, Bruce. How are you? I'm well.
Really, really good. Really, really good. What's going on?
I was just watching the inauguration.
Yes. It,
So exciting.
it's a new day.
It's a new dawn.
It's a new dawn and a really bumpy start to a new year.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
That's right. So you got the email. We're talking about self-deprecation.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This kind of came to us from the Chinese restaurant in Montreal. This kind of came to us from the Chinese restaurant in Montreal called Aunt Di. I think I'm saying that right. As we looked at
Sounds right.
as we looked at self-deprecation, I learned how to spell self-deprecation, and by sharing that with you, I'm self-deprecating.
Wonderful.
Okay, this restaurant is in Montreal, and they kind of became an internet sensation because the owner, beside the menu items, will put disclaimers in some cases. And they were really amplifying how he insults and criticizes his own food. And while that turned to self deprecation for our topic as it relates to sales or management, when I looked at it, he doesn't self-deprecate all the time, which is the real point. When he talks about the menu items, he's like, "This is a little bit too spicy. We used to have this dish with sticks in the beef strips. Customers were cutting their lips on it, so we took the sticks out. They must have been watching some weird TV show about weird Chinese food." So there's the self-deprecation there, but as he does that, he on the next menu item, he will also say, "This was the number one dish on the internet survey. I totally believe that." So as I looked at it, I'm getting the sense that he was using self-deprecation as strategy. As you insult yourself, when you brag about yourself, you become believable. And it's important in sales and it's important in management.
Yeah, I think I read that he did that because he didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver. He said, "I'd rather be honest to my clientele, my customers, and have them fully satisfied with reasonable expectations."
It sounds smart, right?
Very smart. Being honest. I just think of honesty in some sense.
Honesty is truth.
Mm.
Self-deprecation is belittling oneself, undervaluing oneself, and acting as excessively modest or presenting yourself as excessively modest. When we look at this, and we'll talk about this through the next few minutes, but self-deprecation is best used as a dash, like flavor with salt, rather than self-identity. And I think it's important to really position that.
Yeah, I agree with you because you don't want to self-deprecate to the point of lack of self-esteem and confidence.
That's right. Self-deprecation can also be used in humor as a tension release. Self-deprecation was recommended by philosophers of Stoicism. I struggled with that word as well. In addition to self-deprecation, that was a tough one for me. As a response to insults. Instead of getting defensive, we should join in by insulting ourselves even more. When we talked about this topic earlier, I shared with you, if I'm in a store and someone walks in the door with their arrogance or with their fear of, I don't want people to attack me and try to sell things to me, they'll walk in sometimes and say, "I don't like this brand." And they're there with someone. They didn't walk in on their own and say, I don't like this brand. But often it happens, or sometimes it happens. And when people try to defend the brand, it doesn't work. I stepped in and started saying, if someone says, I don't like this brand, I started saying, I didn't like this brand either until I worked here. And this is what I learned about the greatness of the founders, the greatness of the collections, and the greatness with what we have to offer you. And it changes everything. Makes sense, right?
It's a diffuser.
It is. Instead of getting defensive, we should join in by insulting ourselves. I've also had people say it's overpriced. This style is ridiculous. It is overpriced, but let's get in the dressing room and let's see what really, really pricey clothes look like on you. Is the diffuser, instead of, well, blah, 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 the quality. Like, nobody cares because they're not there yet. They don't have the open window or the open mind to hear that from you. So just agree with them. Oh my God, it's very pricey, but let's go see how you look in really expensive clothes. Let's see if Dolly Parton, let's see if you can make expensive clothes look cheap. That type of thing.
It's funny to me. Makes me laugh.
Laughter helps in everything. Laughter helps in a relationship. Laughter helps in a sale. So yeah, it's all good. Self-deprecation will diffuse the sting from the insult and disappoint the individual that's after you, because as we fail to be upset, they're not going to try it anymore because it didn't work, is probably what happens. Also, you're in London, and when we look at self-deprecation, in British English culture, self-deprecation is an element of modesty. Modesty is to be considered a virtue, often contrasted to the North American demonstration of self-confidence, which is often taken as boasting. In
Very
my
true.
case, in some brands, when I went to Bergdorf Goodman, when I was at John Varvatos, when I was at Gucci, the same thing happened in all three brands within the first 2 weeks or the first 2 months. And it could have been at a conference table before the meeting starts, or it could have been at the water cooler. And someone will approach me, say hello, and then as a way of introduction or discovery, it would often include, or always include, are you an only child? And I'm like, no, I have 4 siblings. And then it would turn to, are you the youngest child? And I'm like, no, I'm second from the oldest, but I know what you're trying to do to me and I know what you're trying to say. And I realized you can be perceived as arrogant without even contributing to it. Hopefully, I wasn't contributing to it. And to sidestep that or to dodge that accusation, self-deprecate, and it fixes everything and it smooths everything.
I use that analogy all the time on my Zoom calls. I start with, especially in groups,
Yeah,
with people that don't know me. I'm in a British culture. I just immediately start with, I'm a loud American and I apologize.
that's right.
And inevitably people laugh because I know that's how I'm perceived culturally. And at the same time, I'm laughing with that notion about myself because it's just part of the identity. So I think that goes a long way to kind of acknowledge at least the cultural differences.
Super smart. And as you're sharing that, I've just stated that I use self-deprecation. You've just shared that you leverage it. And the truth is, we probably never saw self-deprecation as a valuable tool. It was just intuition that took us to that place.
Totally true. I think until we started talking and really dissecting what self-deprecation is, I didn't, from a theoretical standpoint, really understand the value and why. I think you're totally spot on with the sort of intuition portion of communication.
I'm going to do it in the morning. Instead of the positive affirmations when I get out of bed and make coffee, I'm going to self-deprecate just for a minute to put everything in its proper place.
Me too.
Next, why do comedians use self-deprecation? Next, why do comedians use self-deprecation? Because it's funny, and everyone can relate, and everyone has been there. You are also pulling the lid off of things that everyone hides, so it's seen as very daring, which is courageous, which is confidence, which is strength. So even as we look at the way comedians use self-deprecation, it starts with humility, but then the process goes to daring, goes to courage, goes to confidence, and then lands on strength. And I think it's very important to note.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is something very courageous in the act of being honest. And if
Mm-hmm.
honesty is a form of self-deprecation and vulnerability is the outcome, I think it is very powerful because it allows people to see a potential weakness,
Mm-hmm.
and the strength is in the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
And again, on another Zoom call, I was in an interaction with people that I was meeting for the first time. We're sort of starting off the year. It's a lot of new connections and meeting people, and the only way to do that these days is via video chat. So
Yeah.
I was amongst a group of people that I really admired, and I was feeling, I was feeling this not my usual sort of confident self, as though it was something I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I purely said, I'm just feeling a little insecure right now. And all of a sudden, you could see the virtual hugs of empathy, and immediately I felt embraced.
People loved you because you presented yourself as vulnerable.
That's right.
I love it. People try to help. I know you'll never believe this, but people try to help.
I do believe that.
Okay, Inc. magazine, as it relates to self-deprecation and using humor, in the C-suite, with leadership, with management, the way to spot a self-aware leader is by looking for a self-deprecating sense of humor. People that can admit to their failures or shortcomings with a smile are approachable. Again, not knowing that I was using self-deprecation as a tool or a strategy, whenever I deliver a really tough message, or if I'm really straightforward about something that needs to happen or change, I will usually end the conversation or end the meeting and look at the group and say, hate me for something else, but this is what we have to do. And the hate me for something else fixes their heads, lets them understand that I didn't really want to do this. I didn't really want to have to say it, but I did for our better good, and hate me for something else,
That's one of my favorites. It just shows you're a human.
Another thing, can I share another moment of humanity? In addition to hate me for something else, if I step into something, and this is where they always talk about leaders need to, strong leadership will admit when you're wrong. I will use self-deprecation to admit when I'm wrong. And if I'm going into something and I'm saying, this is what we have to do, this is what's wrong with what we're doing right now, you should have done that differently with that client. And if they reply and they let me know that my assumption was inaccurate, I will look at them and I will be like, shut up, Bruce. And they're like, yes, shut up, Bruce. And me giving the opportunity for them to tell me to shut up neutralizes me being wrong with the accusation, hopefully. And it fixes a lot of things.
It's a sharing of power, which is also a very humanitarian concept.
It's a type of equality, sharing of power.
That's right.
Okay, so hate me for something else and shut up, Bruce, for me have been very useful. Has been very useful or have been very useful. Oh my God.
Still is useful. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm self-deprecating again. Vulnerability, weakness, breakability, susceptibility to physical or emotional injury or attack is part of self-deprecation. I'm thinking of a moment with a colleague. I was at John Varvatos as director of retail, and we really built. I was at John Varvatos as director of retail, and we really built strong teams. I realized that what was happening to the brand as a new brand, people were walking in the door not knowing anything about what they were stepping into. And I needed really, really dynamic people to communicate greatness and excellence as people stepped in the door to increase conversion. If I had average sales teams, people would walk in, I don't know this brand. These people aren't that impressive. I'm going to turn around and walk down the street to something that's on point.
Yeah.
And I realized quickly I could leverage really unique people, really dynamic people, and really connectors and people that knew how to attach to people to build the brand. And that's what we did. So in the Soho store, there was a real moment of magic. I was hiring people. I would go to the West Coast, not visit the store, trusted the manager. I had been away from the store for about a month, walked in on a Saturday morning. The group of people collected for the morning meeting were so strong and so powerful as individuals and as a collective group. It was almost overwhelming, and I couldn't look at them. It was like that.
Didn't you tell me that this particular semblance of the team, you were looking for a certain type of character or trait within the people?
I needed something to stand out in the crowd. It could be tall, it could be short, it could be lean, it could be large, it could be outlandish hairstyle, it could be a buzz cut, but it needed to be something to stand out. And then also, you always try to stack a Broadway show and have one of every type so you can appeal to the breadth of your potential customer base, right?
So diversity and inclusion was the name of that game.
It was the precursor to what we require today. Again,
That's right.
just intuition or awareness of who people are and how big do you want to be. Diversity and inclusion is an add-on,
Right.
Back to self-deprecation.
Yeah, back to the topic.
We'll talk about diversity and inclusion on another day. One thing that I wanted to share on the topic of self-deprecation is I had an individual that became an excellent salesperson for us, still at John Varvatos, still in the Soho store. He would sit with us and he would be the showroom model during the presentation to the retail team. And so he became friendly with the retail team, and through that, he wanted to work in the stores between fashion show seasons. If you're a showroom model, you're probably $200 or $300 a day. If you have a campaign for a guy, you're probably 20 or 30,000 a campaign. So if you're a showroom model, you need that retail job, right? He came to the retail job, super impressive, dynamic, 6'2", looked like David Beckham, and people were intimidated by him. And I was talking to him on the first week or two, and he's like, I just feel that people walk away from me. And I said, they're probably intimidated by you. They're from Macon, Georgia. They're from Des Moines, Iowa. They're from every city in our great United States. And they're coming to New York City. They're in Soho. They're walking into a new brand, establishing itself as a rock and roll band. You're B-level, D-level Hollywood. You look like a superstar, and they're intimidated. I said, your opening line needs to be, what's your name, where you're from? I'm from a small farm in the Midwest. And he was. And I was too. And I learned early on to connect to people, get to their level. Like if you sense or if you feel that you are positioned with superiority, use self-deprecation, put them on your level. I grew up on a small farm in the Midwest. If I flub someone's name and they're from Dubai, or if they're from a part of the world and I struggle with the pronunciation, I'm from a small farm in the Midwest. I don't know a lot. Tell me your name again. And it works,
Well, it's very true. Again, you're connecting with people on a level that is honest and open. So I think that goes back to treating people as not competitors or somebody to position against. It's really just approaching people as fellow human beings.
That's right, that's right, that's right. Self-deprecation can be the best gateway drug to their acceptance of your boasting. If you want to brag about your brand, or if you want to talk about how excellent you are, if you want to brag about your brand and people are saying, I don't shop here, the best position, some of the things that I've used, my brand may not have the notable heritage of Louis Vuitton or Gucci, but our collections are more relevant and on trend. And as you have humbled yourself and saying, these people are way ahead of us with size and scale and timeline and heritage, you can also then brag and say, I'm closer to what's going on right now. We're new. We're exciting. And then you can also share, we're small enough to provide you with first priority service. You are not a number here. So even if it's almost a David and Goliath thing, like you're not going to go up against Goliath by positioning yourself. You're not going to go up against Goliath by positioning yourself as Goliath. You're going to gain over Goliath by stating the truth.
Well, rather than using smoke and mirrors to pretend to be something that you're not and trying to be a facade that people see right through anyway.
Yeah. Totally true. Totally true.
People are smart. People operate, with instincts. They operate with knowledge, and so, truth always sets you free. I think in life in general.
Yeah.
And a lot of times insecurities build barriers and protections that just keep people apart. And we're talking about bringing down the walls and coming together and defining commonality.
When you say people are smart, people have knowledge, they're very informed, and that's partly the internet. Like, you can learn anything that you want to learn. You can self-educate yourself. You can certainly know about a brand from the internet. And if people walk in, and if they know what they're looking for, if they know what the materials are, if they know how it's produced, where it's made, my God, you're more informed. I'm going to listen to you for a minute, and then I'll take over and fill in the parts that you're missing.
Right.
Something like that,
It makes your job easier, too.
It does. Let them talk. Oh, my God. I'm going to have a cocktail or the glass of champagne I'm going to have the cocktail or the glass of champagne while you tell me about us. That's right. When I was thinking about self-deprecation first, I thought, who do I know? When I was thinking about self-deprecation first, I immediately tried to kind of scroll and identify who I know that self-deprecates, and it's my Aunt Barb. My Aunt Barb can bake better than anybody. And she is so humble about it. No, I don't know. I'm not that good. I'm glad you like it, but it's really, really not as great as you're saying. And when she does that, I realize if I'm in sales or if I'm in management, when I self-deprecate and I state with a dash of salt, not with a self-identity, if I state my inferiority or my weakness, people want to help. With Aunt Barb, I wanted to promote on her behalf because I thought it was great and she wasn't amplifying it. I knew that I was a better promoter than her. She could bake better, but I could sell it bigger,
Yeah, I totally true, because I think you're right. People do want to help.
Yeah.
And when self-deprecation can either be humble, like your Aunt Barb, where you just, you're constantly working on becoming better. You're a student of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this self-deprecation where you're just being honest and admitting, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're a really valuable insight and a tool and a person that I need in my life. And people do want to help and they do want to be valued. And it's a great way of building authentic relationships and, in turn, building a relationship that helps each other.
Relationships, and as I'm listening to you, I'm also thinking about referrals. If you kind of leverage a light dash of self-deprecation, if people think that you're running such a strong business that you don't have time or interest, in extra business, that they're not going to promote for you, and you'll miss those referrals. One of the best ways that I have gained referrals is by telling someone, "Do you know, I have enjoyed working with you so much. Um, I'm really focusing this year to build my business and expand my client base. And if you know anyone that would enjoy what I do for you, I'd love for you to introduce us. I'd love the chance to meet them." It's a little bit of self-deprecation there, because you're not saying that I'm the biggest, baddest in the industry and you're lucky to be here. It's saying, I want to grow, I want to expand, and people want to help.
Well, it's really interesting because this has been sort of a new revelation for me. I always position myself to be competent, capable, prove my
You
worth.
are,
And,
you are, you
and
are.
yes, yes, yes. But I realized as I get older and through therapy, I said, I just said this last year, I said, I need help too.
Yeah.
I am realizing my pitfalls,
Mhm.
my needs, and why does everybody think that I'm so capable? Yes, I'm capable, but I need help too.
Yeah.
And this conversation is so appropriate because when we come across two together, too powerful, too perfect, if you will, people think that we have it all together, and how could they even possibly help us in any sort of way? And so there has to be a place for people to fit in within that dynamic, whether it's client, whether it's friendship. So I think that self-deprecation allows for, again, connection, and allows for people to say, oh, I know where I can fit into your life. I know where I can help you.
As you're talking about people perceive you as the expert, and you know that you need help too. As we wrap it up, I would say the dash of salt, not self-identity. And I would also layer in the 80-20 idea here, like 80% of I'm an expert, 80% of I am the person who can do this for you, 80% of confidence, and then 20% of self-deprecation seems to be a good formula. Everybody in?
Yeah, I sign up for that.
I do too. I do too. Well, have a good day there.
Thank you, Bruce. It's always a pleasure, and I'm excited for the next phone call. You always inspire me to do something towards my greatness.
You're almost my favorite person in my life. Make it a great day.
I love you, honey. Talk to you later.
Love you too. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.